Hello, good evening. My name is Catherine Kaplan, and I'm working with SEB Housing. This is the information session for the one affordable townhome being made available at the Village at Sawmill Woods in Plymouth, Massachusetts. And the purpose of this session is to give a little bit of background information on the home. We're also going to cover the application and eligibility process, the lottery, and what to expect after the lottery itself. So if you have any questions during the session, just go ahead and type them into the Zoom chat or unmute yourself and ask whatever it is. We also have a conference call that is running concurrently during this session. If you'd like to join by phone, you can do that by dialing the number and using the code that I'm going to put into the chat right now. All right, that's in there now. So this is a live session. It's being recorded and will be made available on SEB Housing's YouTube channel. After tonight, you'll be able to view it there if you need to. If you have any questions after tonight's session, you can go ahead and contact us by email at info@sebhousing.com. It's the quickest way to get in touch with us by email, but if you'd prefer to call, that is perfectly fine, and you can call us at that number that's on your screen now. If you have any questions or if you have any problems viewing the screen or anything like that, please let me know during the session. You were muted as you came into the Zoom session, so if you need to ask a question, you will need to unmute yourself. So just some background information on SEB Housing. We are an off-site affordable housing consulting group, and we have been hired by the developer to market the affordable home, conduct this information session, collect and review applications from applicants to determine their eligibility for the affordable housing program, and also to run the lottery. So we're not a part of the sales team for this townhome. We haven't seen the home in person. But in the initial phases, we are going to be your main point of contact rather than the sales team. Further along in the process, you would have more direct contact with the sales team if you're invited to move forward towards purchasing the townhome following the lottery. So there's really two broad steps in the process. We're going to discuss both of those during this session. The first step is to apply for the affordable housing program. That is the step during which you'll be in touch with us at SEB Housing. We can answer any questions you have on the affordable housing program. We're going to review your application and the supporting documents that go along with it. And if you're eligible, you're going to be entered into the lottery. And we will then, after the lottery, give you a position on the waiting list. The second step in the process is actually reserving and buying the home. So your opportunity to do so will depend on your placement on the wait list following the lottery. If you haven't already done so, you should go ahead and check out the listing for the Village at Sawmill Woods on our website. So if you go to sebhousing.com and you click on affordable housing opportunities and you select I want to buy, and then you select the Village at Sawmill Woods, you are going to be taken to a page that is specific to this property, and it will have a downloadable version of the application, a template of a sample deed rider that will be required and finalized closer to closing, and an information packet. And the information packet has most of the information that I will be going over during this session. We're not going to have time to cover everything that's in that information packet, but I'm going to review the main points. So it's recommended that you take a look at that, even if you do attend or watch this information session after the fact. If you do choose to apply for the affordable home at Sawmill Woods, you will need to complete the affordable unit application, and that is found on our website, as I said. You can submit it to us in one of several ways. We try to make it as easy for you as possible. So you could email or scan it into us at info@sebhousing.com. You could fax it to us. Our fax number is listed on the first page of the application. You could send it by regular mail, or you can drop it off if you happen to be in the Needham area. That is where our office is located, and we have a 24-hour secure drop box at our office at 257 Hillside Ave in Needham. The drop box, if you're coming up the driveway, is located on the left of the building, and we do check that box daily. So whichever of those options is easiest for you, that is how you would submit your application for this opportunity to us. And we encourage you to get your application in early. It is fairly lengthy. As you will see when you're reviewing it, there is a lot of supporting documentation that is required up front. And then along with your lottery application, and supporting documentation, you will need to submit a mortgage pre-approval, which we're going to cover more in depth in a few minutes. But getting that pre-approval could take some time. So if you're interested in this opportunity, we recommend that you begin that process soon, since the application deadline is coming up. And that application deadline is August 23rd. So about a month away, a little bit less than a month away. And again, you would have to submit your application with supporting documentation and the mortgage pre-approval. You do not need to be a Plymouth resident to apply for this lottery. And since this is an affordable home, it is only being made available for purchase by households whose income is at or below 80% of the area median income. That's often referred to as AMI. So AMIs are the amounts that the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, releases each spring. And Plymouth falls within the Metro Boston AMI area. We'll be talking a little bit more about what the current AMIs are and how we'll be counting your income in just a few minutes. Please stop me and let me know if there is any questions, or if you're having trouble viewing the screen or hearing me or anything like that. All right, so to talk a little bit more about the affordable home, the Sawmill Woods has a website. So I have a link here. The website offers additional information about the community, has some videos, it includes detailed floor plans to give you a sense of the layout of this home. So you want to check that out if you haven't already. The physical address of the affordable home will be 63 Drum Drive in Plymouth, and that's in the Manomet neighborhood of Plymouth. It is located within the village at Sawmill Woods, which is a new residential development located just off of 140 Kathleen Drive in Manomet. Once completed, this development is going to consist of 200 duplex style homes, and the project itself is situated off of Shallow Pond Estates subdivision, and much of the surrounding land is going to remain open space. The project itself borders many acres of conservation area and town-owned property, as well as cranberry bogs to the south. So it'll be, a little more private than some other communities in the area. And the affordable home is going to have a full basement and energy-efficient appliances, a kitchen with wood cabinets and granite countertops, forced hot air system with central air conditioning. And there's also a one-car garage, as you can see in that picture. One of the garages is for, in the photo here, is for the front unit, and then the back unit has the garage on the right. There is a condo fee or an HOA fee of $100 per month, and that fee covers the cost of sewer, common area landscaping, and snow removal. And the affordable sales price for the home is $325,100. This price is significantly lower than what market rate homes have sold for in the community already. Typically, it looks like those have been going for about $430,000 to $530,000. Since this is an affordable home, it's going to have what's called a deed rider filed along with the deed at the time of purchase. So this ensures that the home will remain affordable in the future, even if you as the owner eventually chooses to sell it. So just a quick overview of a deed rider. A few things that it does: it limits the amount for which the owner can eventually resell the property. So if you're looking to buy a property, flip it, or resell it in a year or two, this probably is not the opportunity for you. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to eventually sell the home for more than what you paid for it, but it will have to be resold to an affordable buyer. So you might have some return on your investment, but you shouldn't expect the same appreciation that homes might be selling for in the market rate. There is a formula for resale price of affordable properties, and there's an example of that on the last page of the information pack. The formula is also based on area median income. The deed writer also says that it must be your primary residence. So generally you cannot rent out the property as an investment property like an Airbnb or something like that. The deed writer also says if you'd like to refinance or make capital improvements such as a new roof in the future, the Department of Housing and Community Development would need to approve that. This is a brand new home though, so these types of improvements would probably not be in the cards for you anytime soon. But just want to mention that because that is part of the deed writer. So I mentioned that a mortgage pre-approval is required to be submitted along with your lottery application and supporting documents. We suggest that after you review the information packet, you just go ahead and copy or rip out page 8, which lists the required mortgage pre-approval standards for this housing opportunity. You can just bring that page to your mortgage lender or the bank and show it to them, because you want to be sure that the mortgage product that you're being offered is going to meet the necessary standards that are laid out in the pre-approval. So you may also want to bring them a sample of the deed writer, which is again listed in the website listing, because that information could also sometimes be problematic for some lenders. Certain loans or lenders will not accept all terms of a deed writer. So for example, the loan needs to have a fixed interest rate throughout the term of the mortgage. It also can't be an FHA or VA loan, since those types of loans do not accept the deed restriction. So you don't want to be in a situation where the lender grants you a pre-approval, but then at the end backs out at the time when you're looking to purchase the home. They should just be made aware of the resale restrictions associated with affordable housing properties. So along those same lines, we just want to mention that it has been our experience that it has been very difficult for applicants to successfully close with Bank of America as a lender. So we recommend that you don't use Bank of America for your pre-approval or mortgage, because their mortgage products are likely not suited for affordable units. But with that said, you are free to select any bank or lender you would like. We just strongly recommend that you choose someone that has experience with affordable housing programs. There's also a link on page 8 of the information packet that's going to direct you to Mass Housing Partnership's website. And this is a great site to use as a resource to find lenders who are familiar with affordable housing. We also want to mention that the mortgage pre-approval standards state for this program that you must provide a down payment of at least 3% of the purchase price. Half of that, so 1.5%, must come from your own funds. So your loan or mortgage can be up to 97% of the purchase price. So let me know of any questions before I move on to the eligibility criteria for the program. We'll talk about the income limits and all of that now. All right, so if you are later looking at the information pack, pages 1 through 4, there are 4 eligibility criteria for this program on page 4. And the first is everyone in the household must qualify as a first-time home buyer. And there are exceptions to this, which we're going to talk about, but even households who qualify for an exception would need to sell their current home prior to closing on the affordable home at Village at Sawmill. The second eligibility criteria is a household income and assets must be below the maximum allowable income and asset limits. We're going to talk more about that, but you'll see the income limits on your screen right now. The third eligibility criteria is that you must be pre-approved for a mortgage. And the fourth is that households or applicants cannot have financial interest in the development or be a related party. So this home is being offered by the developer Sawmill Development Corporation. So if you work for them or related to them in some way, you may not be eligible for this lottery. So just want to circle back to the first eligibility criteria to explain more. Everyone in the home must be a first-time home buyer. So what does that mean? All household members are considered to be first-time home buyers if they have not, within the last 3 years, owned a home. And this includes through joint ownership. So if a household member was on the deed to a home along with their partner or spouse, they were still considered owners of the home at that time if they were listed on the deed. There are 5 exceptions to the first-time home buyers rule. These are in the information packet. I'm going to briefly discuss the 3 of them that come up the most often. The first is someone who is referred to as a displaced homemaker. So this is someone who hasn't worked outside of the home for years, but has worked inside the home to care for the home and family. They've owned a home with their spouse, but no longer, or partner, but no longer own that home due to a recent divorce or legal separation. So they are no longer on the home's deed, but did own that home within the last 3 years. That's an exception. The second exception is a single parent with at least joint custody of 1 or more children, or someone who is pregnant but is now displaced because of a family breakup and they're now looking for a new home, but were on a deed beforehand. So the third exception that comes up from time to time is an age qualified household. So applicants who have a household member who is 55 or older, and that person is selling or has sold a home within the last 3 years in order to purchase the affordable property. So those are 3 exceptions. And if you qualify for any of those exceptions, you do still need to be off your current home's deed before buying a home at the Village at Sawmill Woods. So this might mean, for example, that if you have a pending divorce, it may need to be finalized before you'd be eligible to purchase this affordable home. All right, so as I mentioned a little bit earlier, since this is an affordable home, it's being made available to households whose household income is at or below 80% of the area median income. The maximum income limits are set by household size. They're on your screen right now. And so when you're figuring out your approximate household income, you're going to want to include income for everyone who will be living in the home. And these figures are listed on the application, the information pack, our website. There's no need to write them down or anything, but I do want to read them off for you. So a 1-person household, the maximum income limit for the household is $78,300. For a 2-person household, it's $89,500. For a 3-person household, it's $100,700. If you have 4 people in your household, the maximum income limit for the program is $111,850. A 4-person household, the max income limit is $120,800. And for a 6-person household, the total household income can be up to $129,750. So all applicants, all households are going to be required to submit supporting income and asset documentation. And the required documents vary depending on your sources of income, but will always, for all households, include copies of, if you're employed, your 5 most recent pay stubs, copies of bank statements for the last 3 months, and copies of your federal tax returns for the last 3 years. So I want to give you a basic overview of how your income is going to be calculated so that we're able to determine your eligibility. So income for this program is counted as a projection of your income over the last 12 months. So we're looking back in order to project what your income may be in the future in the next year. All income for household members is included. So this includes bonuses and overtime that you may not rely on. And the only exceptions to this are minors that are earning a wage. We would not be counting income, or I should say wage income, for minors. And if you have a dependent full-time student who is working, we're only going to count the first $480 of their wages to determine eligibility. We do need to count the gross income. And so that is before taxes are taken out. We know that none of us are taking home the full amount of our salary because of taxes, but we do need to count that gross income according to the program. So how we calculate the income is not one size fits all. Everyone's income circumstances are unique. There's some applicants who have a very consistent weekly salary. They have a pay stub every week. It's consistent throughout the year. Other people are self-employed or working seasonally. So in those types of circumstances, we might need to look further back into the past in order to project anticipated income for the next 12 months. And then specifically for applicants who are self-employed, you will need to complete a profit and loss statement and provide supporting documentation. So if you are self-employed, your business expenses are taken into account. But for households who are not self-employed, we can't count expenses or take them into consideration. It will be the gross income that we always count. So in general, any income that you have been making, we will assume that you will continue to make it going forward unless there's some sort of definitive documentation that we have that you're able to submit stating that you're no longer be earning an income source. So for example, if you have a written letter from your employer that's stating that bonuses or overtime will not be paid out or allowed at all in the coming year, we may be able to take that into consideration. But we are not accepted to permit or to accept statements from applicants. So for example, if you were to submit a letter to us with your application explaining that you plan to work far less hours in the coming year and you'll be making $30,000 less this year, we would still need to count the higher amount that you made last year unless there's some sort of additional information that's provided to us from an employer for us to be able to consider. And even then, it's really not a guarantee that we'll be able to decrease the amount of countable income, but we do need to take those types of factors into consideration. And we'll keep you informed as we're reviewing your application. So there's a table on the lottery application that lists a lot of the income sources that you want to keep in mind when you're thinking about your household income. But just to list some of them for you now, they could include wages, whether you're self-employed or wages from an employer. If you're receiving benefits like Social Security, SSDI, child support, alimony, if you have retirement distributions or unemployment, or workman's compensation or a pension, you want to make sure you're mentioning all of that. Even if you have periodic payments from friends or family members, we might be asking you for a statement from the family member that is supporting or that is providing support, and they would need to confirm the amount and frequency of those payments. And then any assets that you have that generate income, we do need to consider that income as well. There is no minimum income requirements for this affordable housing program, but you do need to qualify for that mortgage pre-approval. So they will want to see income or to verify your income as well when you're looking for the lender. For assets, for this opportunity, households may not have a total of more than $75,000 in assets at the time of application. And your assets, we're not just looking at the traditional bank statements like checking or savings accounts. You want to keep in mind that we're going to be looking at, CDs, any net value of stocks, the net value of retirement accounts, such as a 401k or a 403b, bonds, even your Venmo and PayPal account. Those are required to be looked at as well. So we asking for statements for Venmo, PayPal, those types of services, just as we would your last 3 bank statements. So just keep that in mind. Countable assets would also include if you have funds that you're going to be using towards a future down payment. So if you happen to have a family member that or a friend that is planning to gift you part of your down payment, that would be considered an asset, so you would need to disclose that. And then you might think it's a little bit strange that we would count your retirement account balance, and because most people who have a retirement account, those funds are tied up. you do not plan to be accessing the funds for many years in some cases. The program does require us to do so, since you could, in theory, access the amount to withdraw funds, even if you had a large penalty when doing so. So it is the post-penalty amount or the net cash value that we must count if you have a retirement account. So you would be asked to get a letter from the financial institution listing the post-penalty amount. And we do not need documentation regarding personal assets. So if you have cars or jewelry, art, anything like that, we do not need to see that. All right, so we covered a lot of the eligibility criteria. I'll stop just for a minute just in case there's any questions, and then we'll move on to lottery eligibility.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear.
Oh, okay, cool. So I had you on my laptop, so I missed a little bit of the beginning. Are you Lauren?
Am I what?
Are you Lauren?
No, I'm not.
Sorry, my thing's. Okay, that's who I've been emailing with. So my situation is a single mom of 2 little girls, 8 and 3. Been renting all my life and would like to own. My problem is trying to get the mortgage pre-approval. I'm new with this whole thing, so I have my dad kind of helping me. But I can't get it to like it's like 320, or what is it, 320, I think.
325.
And I'm just trying to figure out.
100,
Yeah, a 325. And then I was also looking at the Kingston one, and that one's I think like 319. Is it okay to apply to 2 at the same time?
Yes. Yep. You can apply to anything that you're seeing. If it's a home ownership opportunity, you're going to need that pre-approval with your application, regardless of where it is. But yeah, I mean, it's possible that you might have obviously a different pre-approval number coming out of a different lender too. So,
okay.
So yeah, you're welcome to apply to any of these or both. Yep. Anything else?
So say the amount, it has to be at least that, right? Like.
Right. So it would need to be.
Does the amount, it has to be at least.
Actually, that's a good question, because I see what you're saying now. If you're putting down a down payment separately, your loan would be 97% of the purchase price. So I didn't do that math out right, but I can right now.
Okay, that'd be great.
And it would be 315, 347 is 97% of that purchase price. Yeah.
Okay, that helps a little bit. All right, cool. Good to know.
Sure. All right, so I'll move on to the lottery eligibility, unless you have another question. You good?
Sorry, my thing, I don't know why it's confusing, but yeah, we're good.
Okay, all right, no problem. All right, I'm gonna put you on mute again just in case. All right, so, all right, the lottery itself. So as I mentioned before, you wanna, if you're interested in this opportunity, apply as soon as possible, just to get the process started. We're gonna review your application and contact you if there's anything missing, or if anything appears incorrect. You'll have the chance to go ahead and correct it and resubmit it as necessary. So most applicants don't submit their application 100% complete on the first try. And that is completely fine. Don't worry about it. There are 2 reasons for it. The first being that there's just a lot of information that's required. But the second is sometimes you'll submit everything to us, and something that you supply, we might have further questions on. So for example, you might have a bank statement that's submitted, and we have questions on some of the deposits and all of that. So you'll be given additional time to supply the added information and make sure that you get your application completed. That's really just why we encourage applicants to get the information in early, because the process could take several weeks. So if you're found eligible for the lottery, you're going to be sent a lottery application number in the form of a series of numbers. And this is the number that we'd be drawing during the lottery. It's meant to be an anonymous identifier, so your full name isn't called out during the lottery. It's not a ranking of any sort. It just corresponds with the order in which we approved your application. So if you were the very first person to submit the application, your number would be A.001. And then on your application, you will have indicated that your household type is either 1, 2, or 3. So the household type is really the main factor in determining your placement on the wait list. This is a 3-bedroom home. So type 1 and 2 households can apply for a 3-bedroom home, but type 3 households would have priority. So this means that all type 3 households would be ahead of type 1 and 2 households on the waiting list that is established prior to the lottery, following the lottery. And there's more information in the information packet too on household composition, the household type. That's on page 6, I believe, of the info pack. And then just for reference, so all households with 4, 5, or 6 members are considered type 3 households, as well as some 3-person households. So a head of household with 2 dependents would be a type 3 as well. So the lottery, the application deadline again is August 23rd. The lottery will be held about 2 weeks later on September 7th at 6 p.m. And we're going to create the waiting list shortly after the lottery. So the top households will then be invited by SEB to move forward to reserve the unit, get the mortgage, and ultimately purchase the property. So the lottery itself is going to be in the same format as this session. So a Zoom meeting, the numbers will be drawn from a box, held up to the screen so you can see them and recorded. So every lottery number will be drawn. Sometimes when we think of lotteries, we think there's just one winner and that's the end of it. But this lottery really is just held in order for us to establish the waiting list for this home. And it just creates an order of priority for the next steps in the process. So if you're watching on the night of the lottery, sometimes it's hard to tell exactly what your placement means in real time. And that's because type 1, 2, and 3 households are going to be mixed in with one another at that time. After the fact, when we sort the results and send the waiting list to you, it'll all become much more clear. And we try to do that within 24 hours, not even 24 hours, usually by the next morning after the lottery, you have those wait lists in an email. So if a type 1 household is drawn first in the lottery, they're still going to be behind all type 2 and type 3 households on the waiting list. Also, households who were entered into the lottery might become or found ineligible by SEB or ultimately decide not to purchase the unit. So if your number is drawn later in the lottery, so if you're drawn 4th or 5th or something, you shouldn't lose hope because you may still have an opportunity to move forward to purchase the home. Following the lottery, like I said, we send those waiting lists out within 12 hours or so you don't have to wait around for that. And we'll send it by email. You're going to find your lottery application number on the wait list itself, and then you can see where exactly you fall. At that point, you should have a better idea of whether or not you'll be invited to move forward with the next step in the process. So if you are the top household on the waiting list following the lottery, our next step is to then send your file to the state, which is the Department of Housing and Community Development, DHCD. They're going to then do a file review and give us the green light on whether or not you're eligible to move forward. Excuse me. And just a reminder that not everybody in this lottery is going to be called to move forward, only the top household on the waiting list. This doesn't always happen, but since there's only one affordable home, if the top household submits all required documentation, is found eligible, and ultimately makes it all the way to purchasing the home, other households who may have been approved by SEB and been in the lottery would not be given the opportunity to purchase a unit. So once DHCD has approved your application, the process really becomes similar to what the steps you would be taking if you were purchasing a market rate home. And so this is a point in the process where we should mention that you can go ahead and hire a lawyer or an attorney to help you navigate the home buying process. We encourage you to do that. It's perfectly acceptable to do so. It's probably the smart thing to do. It's a huge decision. We want to make sure that you feel well represented and understand everything. So once DHCD has approved your application, you'll be put in touch with the sales team. at the Village at Sawmill Woods to schedule a time to tour the home, complete a reservation agreement. And in order to reserve the home, you would then put down a $500 refundable deposit. And then after reserving the home, so I changed the slide there. After reserving the home, you would have 10 business days to sign the purchase and sale agreement and place the required deposit, which would be the 1.5% of the sales price, minus that $500 that you already paid when you reserved the unit. So your purchase and sale will actually list your closing date usually, and it's one of the final steps in the home buying process. So the finish line is near at that point. And then once the purchase and sale is signed, you're going to then go back to the bank or lender to get your mortgage commitment. And it can be the same bank that you went to get the pre-approval or not. The process varies a little bit depending on the lender, but generally you're going to need to, they're going to need to review all the documents up to this point. So your purchase and sale agreement, the deed rider that we talked about, they're going to do an appraisal on the home. Any questions on that, let me know. That's the gist of the lottery and post-lottery process. Just a couple things left here.
Okay, I have no questions.
Okay. So the SEB's final review then. So households would need to remain eligible for the affordable housing program up until closing. So about 3 to 4 weeks before your closing date, someone at SEB is going to conduct a final review of your file. And that might include submitting updated pay stubs, bank statements, your mortgage commitment letter. And then we're going to again forward the final package to DHCD for a final review. And if your eligibility is maintained at that point, you can go ahead and move towards closing on the home. And once you have done that, you can move in. There's not going to be any future income or asset eligibility reviews after you've purchased the home and moved in. You'll remain eligible to live there afterwards. So that really covers everything I wanted to go over that's in the information packet. And again, you can find the lottery application, the deed rider, and the information packet on our website under I Want to Buy, and then Village at Sawmill Woods in Plymouth. So yeah, let me know if you have any other questions. And if you think of anything after the fact, you can, I know you're familiar with emailing us at info@sebhousing.com because you mentioned Lauren. So you can do that if you think of something afterwards. But if you have any questions right now, let me know.
I think. Did you say we need to send the deed rider with the application?
So the sample deed rider is included on our website listing for this homeownership opportunity. Okay. What you're going to want to do with that is take that to your mortgage lender or the bank just to make sure that they understand the what the deed rider covers, and to make sure that the mortgage product that they're offering to you is going to work for this affordable housing opportunity. Okay,
and I do that if I'm selected in the lottery, or do that before?
You would do that when you're getting pre-approved. So you'd bring that to them right off the bat to make sure that they understand what you're looking for.
Okay, or you can print it offline, right? Because I was doing the one mortgage, that's what I was using, and I was just going to print that off and send that in.
Yep, you can take it off our website. Just make sure that the same sort of information is listed there.
Okay.
And then the mortgage pre-approval page in the information packet is page 8, and that's also going to list some stipulations that they should be aware of when looking at mortgage products for you.
Okay, on page 8.
You want to make sure the person is well versed in affordable housing, so that when the time comes for closing, they're not surprised by what the deed rider says and what the restrictions are for the affordable housing program.
Okay. If there's no one else going for this, do you just automatically get it?
You would move forward with it. Yeah, if your application was approved, you would be, you'd be. I don't think we cancel the lottery normally, but because there's still several weeks left, it's almost a month left for people to get applications in and things like that. But you would be asked to move forward in the process and would go from there. Yeah.
Okay. What's like the average number that you get? Does it vary, like, of applicants?
It varies a ton. Yeah, depending on the area, depending on a lot of things. You know, sometimes we're surprised that there's not a lot of interest in certain homes or rentals, and you know, it's just varies a lot. Yeah, usually closer to Boston has more interest just because there's more people in that area, obviously.
Oh, okay. But I want less people, so this is good.
Yeah, you have a better chance, right?
Yeah. What'd you say?
You have a better chance, maybe, right?
Precisely. I'm hoping, but yeah, that's where I'm, like, that area, like Plymouth, Kingston.
Yep.
And I was talking to Lauren about the USDA loan. My dad was saying I should go for that. And I guess the way it works is I put in the address and then see if it comes up. This one actually didn't come up. The Kingston one came up, but this one, they said they couldn't find it. It was weird.
Well, so I know the address for these, for this development, since it's so new, they tell you, I think even on their website, to type in 140 Kathleen Drive in Plymouth. That might be why it's not finding the property. This, I said the address, I think it's 63 Drum Road is going to be the name, the physical address of this property. But yeah, 140 Kathleen Drive in Manomet in Plymouth is going to be the nearest GPS findable address, is what it says on their website.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep.
And then, yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm new with this whole thing. So I was wondering, like, the USDA loan, like, that's not a mortgage. That would be, like, how do I find someone that would use that?
I'm sure that would be your mortgage. I mean, I don't know the different products that are out there, so I'm not an expert on that by any means. But what we suggest is on page 8 of the information packet, we have a link to Mass Housing Partnership, which has a lot of, has a list of lenders that are very well versed in affordable housing. So you could start with them. You can go to a local bank, that's fine too. But yeah, you might want to start there.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'll do. Page 8, you said, for that.
Yep, there's like a hyperlink in the middle of the packet there.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I guess that's it for me, really.
Okay.
Yeah,
like I said, info@sdbhousing.com if you have any questions after the fact. Yeah, just get your application in, and we'll work with you if there's anything that is missing, or if we have questions or anything like that. So we'll be in touch.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.